Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, for me anyway. I'm Sandy. I always forget to say that at the beginning of my videos. Anyway, today I want to talk about reading memoirs by writers. So reading writers' memoirs, and that's something I started doing in November for NaNoWriMo, just as kind of a warm-up. Actually, I started in October with On Writing by Stephen King, which is pretty much one of my favorite books ever now. It's really good. And there's a corgi on the front. I'm really obsessed with corgis right now. I read this and loved it. I have tabs on all the stuff that I loved. What did I love about it in particular? I loved the voice of Stephen King. I've read some of his fiction now. I've read the first book in the Gunslinger series, or the Dark Tower series, and it's okay. Thriller's just not really my thing, but I really like his voice when he's speaking to the reader directly as himself, and a lot of his advice about writing itself is so helpful for an author, as I am hoping to become. So if you want to become a writer, I really recommend this. Basically, I've learned don't use adverbs, and don't let the dialogue tell the reader how the character is feeling. I'm currently listening to the Allegiant audiobook because for some reason, I don't know. I'm falling over myself. Because for some reason I still want to finish that series, the Divergent series, and it was a free audiobook from the library, so I'm about a third of the way through now, and I am constantly realizing how often the dialogue the dialogue clearly shows what the character is feeling. Like, no, I don't, he said dismissively. Like, I'm pretty sure that his words express the dismissive-ishness already. So, and that is a Stephen King thing, which I am trying to apply to my own writing as I write and in edits of my novel. So, read this. This is kind of what started my journey through writer memoirs, and I'm really happy about it. So, yay. Okay, moving to the next one. I mean, I read this a long time ago, but it's one I will reread, I think, in the future. Zen and the Art of Writing by Ray Bradbury. It's great. Okay. Next one I read was Lab Girl by Hope Jaren, or Jaren? I don't know. Recommended by many people. I think I heard it first from Erin Dillman over at The Bibliotherapist, and she loved it and has become a plant person, or maybe she already was a plant person, I don't know. But I heard her interviewed, Hope Jaren, on NPR, and her book sounded really great, and then Victoria Schwab loved it. So obviously I had to read it, and I loved it too. It was such a pleasurable read. I read it in January after I finished writing my novel, and it was just so nice and easy to read, and it was a nice story with a nice, I mean, it's her life. It's a memoir autobiography type thing. What memoir isn't autobiographical? I don't know. Basically, she is a scientist who also writes, and now she's written a book, and it's really good. And I very much enjoyed reading it, and there's a kind of theme throughout of growth and taking root where you feel comfortable and finding out who you are and what you want to do, and that's very, that really resonates with me right now because I'm still trying to figure that out. The only thing I know I want to be is a writer and booktuber. So, recommend. And I hadn't read a hardcover book in a while, which I liked quite a bit. So a very sweet book that I learned a lot from. Next, I read Scratch, Writers, Money, and the Art of Making a Living. And as I was in the middle of reading this, YouTube demonetized my and many other channels that are smaller than 1,000 subscribers and with fewer than 4,000 hours of watch time in the past month or year. I don't remember what the cutoff is, probably a month, which pissed me off, frankly. And I wrote a really impassioned blog post over on my Wikipedia page. No, my website. Basically, it really made me angry that YouTube decided to take away my decision that I wanted to be paid for videos, whether it's like 2 cents, you know, over the course of 8 years. But just that they decided, no, you have to pass a certain threshold before your art is worth paying for, really made me mad. And especially because I was reading this book at the time. And this is a bunch of essays compiled and edited by Manjula Martin, founder of Scratch Magazine, by some writers I've read other things of, some essays by writers I've read other things by. Let's just not try to get prepositions not at the end of that sentence. And some of them I'd never heard of before, and now I want to read more things. It's a really nice collection of essays from a bunch of different points of view. It's a very diverse set of writers. My favorite essays, I think, I was really surprised to really like the essay by Jennifer Weiner. Weiner? I don't know. Her fiction never really appealed to me. It seemed kind of, quote, chick-lit, which I don't like that term, because I read my own fair share of silly female literature. But her essay, I found so much in it to identify with. And some of these are transcripts or, you know, edited transcripts of interviews, which are really interesting to read. I just really enjoyed it. I flew through the last half of it, I think, in like a day and a half or so. I picked this up at Half Price Books for like $7. I think if you want to get it from the library or something, or even buy it, it's not one that I think I'll read cover to cover ever again, but I'm sure I will revisit some essays in here. What lessons did I learn? Basically, that even authors who make a lot of money up front, they don't get paid all of that right away. You know, unless you're Stephen King getting his $400,000 for Carrie, like, in the 80s. Wouldn't that be nice? Like Cheryl Strayed, I think in her essay, she talked about how she had a book that had been on the bestseller list for a really long time, but she was worrying about paying her rent at her signings when she was like signing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of copies of her book. And so that gave me a perspective into best-selling authors that I hadn't really thought about before. I really enjoyed that, and it taught me a lot, and I really liked it, and it's really good. Oh. This time I knocked over Cosima. Okay. Oh, they both just have too big of hair. Anyway, so the book that I'm currently reading and have been reading since 2/13, so 4 days now, is Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. I've had this one sitting on my shelf for a while, in this-ish area, the like badass lady writer section. And it just, I knew I wanted to read it. I wasn't really sure of the right time, but Roxane Gay was in Scratch, and I really enjoyed the interview in there, and it seemed like the right time because I'm trying to write my own novel, and the reason I think drawn to memoir right now is because if I read different fiction while I'm trying to write my own thing, it just throws me off, I guess. Like, I start thinking, I get too excited about the fiction I'm reading rather than the fiction I'm trying to create. But with memoir, especially reading memoirs by writers, it like pumps me back up to get back in the chair and start typing words. So I've been very much enjoying Bad Feminist. And what has really surprised me, because I read an article, or yeah, I guess it was an NPR article or something where Roxane Gay had gone to an interview and been fat shamed. Even though the content of that interview was supposed to be about her book Hunger, which is about why she gained all of the weight that she gained. And this book is kind of hinting at that a little bit. I've just read a few essays that are really heart-wrenching and sad about her past. I am constantly surprised, and like my eyes are being opened in a good way. Like, it's kind of like making me step back and think about why I initially felt that I wouldn't identify with this book, because I was thinking, well, she's a overweight woman who is black, and is a very successful writer and a really successful feminist critic, and I'm A, white, B, not really overweight, and I was just not expecting to find as much in common as I am with this book. Like every other page or so, I'm just like, yes! I agree with so much of what she says, and so much of her personal experience I identify with, because, well, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I think I used to have like an eating disorder as a teenager, you know, of the losing weight kind. So there is discussion of eating disorders, which I have struggled with in the past, and, but it's handled from the opposite perspective of mine, where I was losing too much weight, she was gaining too much weight, and the emotions I think are still, I understand so much of this book that I didn't expect to understand, and it's really eye-opening. Like, wow, we have way more in common than the patriarchy would want us to think, or the internalized racism in society would want us to think. So basically, it's been a eye-opening experience to read a book from someone who I thought I was gonna have nothing in common with, and come away feeling, well, I'm not even, I'm halfway done, and I want to read more. I want to read Hunger, and I want to read her novel, which is An Untamed State, I think? Yeah, Untamed State, and the story collection Aiti, which I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of. But I really respect her and want to read everything now. So, particularly her discussions of nerdiness, and I've been playing Scrabble a little bit, not competitively, but she's a competitive Scrabble player, and I just love it. I've looked up a few words in here, like uxorious, I think is one. Yeah, uxoriously. Having or showing excessive or submissive fondness for one's wife. It's like, what? There is a squirrel or bird on my window outside. Okay. So anyway, I love this. I want to read everything else she's written, and hooray for Roxane Gay. Hooray. What I'm most likely going to read once I'm done with Bad Feminist is another book I got at Half Price Books, Margaret Atwood, Writing with Intent. Essays, Reviews, and Personal Prose from 1983 to 2005. I didn't even know Margaret Atwood had a book on writing, but of course she does. She's written, let us look at this also written by Margaret Atwood page. Like, holy hell. It's insane. And she is amazing. I saw her in person with my friend Cherish of the Motley News. Okay, so this will probably be next. And I also want to finish Steering the Craft by Ursula K. Le Guin. RIP. Rest in peace, she died recently. Okay, my camera is probably likely gonna die soon, so thank you very much for watching. I'm happy to be back in the swing of editing, or of filming videos. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy reading. Have a happy February. I'm shutting up now. Let me know what memoirs for readers, no. Let me know what writers' memoirs you recommend below, because I want to buy all of them. Bookstooda!